And in the next one, we've got a big conversation for you right here on Joy News, on Joy FM, myjoyonline.com, and Joy Prime. You know, our affiliate brands will converge with experts, journalists, thought leaders, and change makers to broaden the conversation on press freedom as countdown begins towards the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections in Ghana. A lot is at stake, but a strong and well-resourced media, which has been guaranteed the freedom to do its work, can go a long way to ensure a successful poll come December. We have a build-up on this coming up shortly. Before that, though, let's bring you some of the day's leading stories. And as you may be aware, if you have been following the news since morning, the finance minister had a news conference to update the country on the state of the Ghanaian economy. Now, Ghana's public debt has risen to 716 billion cedis. Governors blaming it on the cedi depreciation and other factors. Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam announced this at a news conference this morning.
The cedi cumulatively depreciated against the US dollar by 21.5% as at 26 August 2024, compared with 22.1% recorded in the same period of August in 2023. The cedi's depreciation is, however, easing as the month-on-month depreciation against the US dollar improved significantly from 6.1% in May 2024 to 3.1% in June 2024, and further improved to 22.1% in July 2024. So we've seen month-on-month depreciation coming down against the dollar from 6.1% in May this year, 3.1% in June this year, and then to 2.1% in July this year. If this trend continues, then we can assure you that our cedi will continue to hold against the major currencies. The cedi's relative stability is largely explained by tight monetary policy by the Bank of Ghana, the strong fiscal consolidation, intensification of the Gold for Oil program, and the Bank of Ghana's Gold for Reserves program. We had indicated in the 2024 mid-year review of fiscal policy presented in July 2024 that Cabinet had granted approval for the disbursement of an additional 1.5 billion Ghana cedis to provide relief and bailout for those whose funds have been locked up in the fund management companies. I'm glad to inform you that the Ministry of Finance has processed the release for the first tranche of 700 million Ghana cedis of the additional 1.5 billion Ghana cedis for the Securities and Exchange Commission to further bail out the remaining customers whose funds were locked up, including Black Shield Fund Management Limited customers. Yesterday, I instructed the Controller and Accountant General to release the funds to mitigate the stress on affected persons. The 1.5 billion Ghana cedis will be released in 3 tranches. This amount will bring the number of investors to be fully settled under the Black Shield Limited to 82,096 customers, representing 92%.
So that is the public debt as announced by the Finance Minister as at the end of July 2024. Now let me bring in Richard Champon, his Deputy Ranking Member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, for some reaction to this. And of course, there's also some further clarity brought on the cocoa syndicated loan. Remember, the Cocoa Board had taken some position. We are getting some clarity today from the Finance Minister, who have ordered bust in for some reaction from Mr. Richard Champon. Honorable Champon, you're welcome to the pause here on JoyNews. So the public debt, as at the end of July 2024, stood at 716 billion Ghana cedis. The Finance Minister says that the depreciation of the cedi is to be blamed. and of course, the disbursement from multilateral institutions and the domestic financing of the budget. These are the reasons, according to him, partly to blame for the public debt, which is currently at 716 billion Ghana cedis. What is your reaction to this?
The minister says the public debt stood at 761.1 billion as of July 2024.
Yes.
And he's blaming this on the depreciation of the cedi.
Yes.
So the question is, whose duty it is to manage our currency for us? It is the responsibility of the central bank and the Ministry of Finance to find a solution to this. So if you can't find a lasting solution to this depreciation of the cedi, why do you come and complain to us? And mind you, they use 14.9% to calculate the $51.1 billion debt, public debt, today.
Right. That is 14 cedis against the dollar.
Yes,
right.
That was the rate they used to arrive at the 51.1 billion. Today, the dollar to cedi is 18 to 17. So if today we ask him, the numbers will not be the same. We are running to some 790 billion Ghana cedis debt. So it tells you, quarter by quarter, the situation is getting worse every day. So meaning there's no end in sight. They don't have solution to this problem. He came to complain. Leadership are put there to solve problems. They are not there to complain to us. Because we could not manage it, that was the reason why they were voted to power, to take responsibility and manage the currency for us. So if you come telling me that the donor partners are not disbursing funds to you, what accounted for that? You don't have the credibility. Cocoa Board cannot raise a loan for the syndicated facilities from the international market.
In fact, we'll come to that shortly. We'll come to the Cocoa Board matter shortly. But if indeed the depreciation is a major factor and we don't appear to have a handle on, then clearly we will soon hit the 1 trillion cedi mark as far as the public debt is concerned.
Yes, because we told them the excessive borrowing, that they should pull some brakes. They told us that this is a smart way of borrowing, and then by the end of the day, the end will justify the means. We told them that the trajectory that you guys are charting is not going to help anybody. You're going to create a mess for the society. They didn't listen. So if you look at the overhead expenditure alone, they employ about 125 ministers. Each one bought one Land Cruiser plus a saloon vehicle. Multiply $150,000 by 125. You understand where we are. So there are certain expenditure we can't control. We complain that we have a lot of ministers. They told us they have a lot of manifesto programs to undertake. So by the end of the day, the end will justify the means. They borrow the money without investing the money into productive sectors. So this money cannot pay for itself. And this is the first in the history of this country. A government will tell you, either we are a Eurobond holder, any other investment that you have with government, I'm going to postpone the repayment of the interest and the principal. So now that the minister is telling you the economy is picking up, we are still suspending payment of interest and principal. Let's bring those payments back and see where we are today. So we are just postponing payment of debt. Nothing is good. It's just window dressing. So it's about time we told the people the truth so that we'll get a buy-in. But it's too late in the day. Just 3 months for elections. And now they are calling us to give them 500 million Ghana cedis for cash transfers to affected farmers. Who are they? How much have they lost? And how much are we giving to them? Another scheme to give money for people to vote for them, to entrench their perpetuity in power. And it's not going to work. The people will take the money and still vote against them.
I understand that the Finance Committee will be meeting on this matter soon, so we'll come to that as well. But let me exhaust the cedi matter. I mean, we've got some commitments to meet, including meeting some targets set by the IMF under the Extended Credit Facility. The minister is convinced that despite the rise in the public debt, he is on track to achieve targets under the International Monetary Fund program. Does it give you comfort? That recent events give you the comfort that when the review starts, we'll be able to meet the target set, and that despite the fact that our public debt appears to be rising?
My brother, what the ministry and the government is doing is they are deferring payment of statutory funds, IEA, health insurance, GET fund, and common fund. Even common fund alone, they owe them close to 5 billion Ghana cedis. So they are not paying these debts. So there's room for them to just play around and meet those targets. By the end of the day, you go to the local level. Officers are there. They are not working, but every month they draw salaries. Because there's no tools, no resources to work. So it's like everything is just propaganda. Go to health insurance. Claims that have been put before them, they can't honor those claims. Go to GET fund, contractors who have presented certificates for payment. Some have been there more than 2-3 years. Contractors, road contractors. So if you put all these outstanding arrears together, we are talking about in excess of about 20 billion Ghana cedis. And they're not paying. You can't take them to court because government is the biggest spender. So if we litigate with government, the next time you can't get contract from them. So people are dying slowly. They can't complain. But when they meet you, they tell you things are not well. Even the 1.5 billion he talked about giving to the financial sector so that they said they have processed 700 million, not paid though.
Right.
Processed.
Exactly.
So it is in the pipeline. We have some institutions of which their customers' account has not been validated, let alone to know the numbers. It has not been validated for the past 8 years. So with them, what are we telling them? What is the package for those customers? Some have died slowly. Some cannot pay their medical bills. Some cannot pay their war school fees. So all is not well, my brother. They should come clear and tell us the truth. We know the numbers because we interact with the people. We go to them and they come to us. They've given us all these dossiers about this government.
And Honorable, talking about some sectors or some people in distress, and the agri sector is in focus here because of the dry spells that we are experiencing in 8 regions of the country. Now, government has put a request before the Finance Committee for approval to go into the contingency fund for some 500 million Ghana cedis to help alleviate the plight of farmers identified to have been hit by the dry spell. We are talking about 951,000 farmers. The Finance Committee, I understand that you've started some deliberation on it. What is the position of the minority, especially on this request by government?
In the first place, they are talking about 8.3 billion plus.
Yes.
And they can only raise 500 from the contingency fund. You know, in the 2024 budget, you've appropriated some line item for the contingency.
Yes.
Every budget is there. So before you can apply it, you have to come to the Finance Committee for approval. So after the expenditure, you come and brief the committee so that a report is prepared, and then we'll lay it before the plenary. So the question is, assuming you get the 500 million today, what happens to the rest of the money? Where are you going to get it for?
They are taking some from Agric Ministry, the Roads Ministry, and they are looking at other areas to, raise the 8 billion that government has projected to help deal with this matter.
The same ministry is complaining that the donor partners are not disbursing funds. And the same minister is telling us that he's looking onto them to close the gap. So which is which? An institution which is not ready to disburse funds for you. And we are relying on that same institution to give you the remaining amount to fill in the gap. It tells you if you give the 500, it cannot solve the problem. And if you are not careful, they are going to share the money for party apparatchiks. But go to the 2023 budget. They stated in the budget, I think I've forgotten the paragraph, I can get that paragraph for you.
Right.
That they are going to import drought resilient seeds to deal with this very issue we are discussing today. And there was a allocation for it in the Ministry of Agri budget. You procured the drought resilient seeds. What happened to it? And now we are complaining about drought. So meaning you were not telling us the truth.
But Honorable, as government describes it, this is an emergency situation. I'm wondering what will get your members to be convinced to give the approval needed for the ministry to assess the 500 million Ghana cedis as an interim measure immediately to address what could potentially be a food security issue in the country in the coming weeks?
What happened to Planting for Food and Jobs Part 2? We spent more than 60 million Ghana cedis in the name of Planting for Food and Jobs. And the Part 2 is planting for livestock, export, blah, 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 blah. You can hear all the slogan that they put out there. What happened to that investment? We saw horses transporting fertilizer to Burkina Faso. Have you heard any minister or any government appointee brought to book for doing all these things? They are still working free. You've wasted about 60 million Ghana cedis, and today we are saying there's food crisis. And I just get laughed that you are going to close the borders, you want to deploy the military to ban people from exporting the cereals. If there's a demand for cereals in Ghana and there's a shortage of the product, certainly the price will go up. Is that not it?
Exactly.
So who in his right senses will leave Ghana and go to Togo or Burkina Faso or Ivory Coast to sell cereals at a lower price? Whereas there's a demand for it in Ghana, of which the demand will shoot the price to go up.
So what will get you to back this? What will get you to back this request by government?
Meaning they are not telling us the truth. They just need the money. So let's just cook some story, create unnecessary scene for people to panic so that we can get this money. That's all.
But clearly, Honorable, the issue of the drought is evident to everybody. It is not being made up. We've spoken to farmers. They are complaining. I mean, it hasn't rained in a long time. That's resulted in this. So the evidence of this is there.
You are a journalist. You understand these issues more than I do. Anybody at all can organize a press conference and put up a story. We're not in this country where you turn bars, Mina case, blah, 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 to date. What happened to it? So people will just bring people together to make up a story for you to believe it. Okay, right now there's a spillage from the Baghdad Dam. Is that not the case?
It is.
It has affected people's land. People's investment has been affected. What are we doing to those people? People lost their money through the haircut. People lost their money for just investing in government bonds. Are we giving them any support or any cash support?
Is this
right now, we are dealing with $13 billion Eurobond holders.
Yeah.
They're negotiating with them. Is that not the case?
It is.
What are we doing to compensate those people? But they're also losing their investment.
So, Honorable, is it the case that the minority will not back this request?
It's early days yet, but we will demand a whole lot of information from them.
Let me ask a final.
How many are they? They just mentioned
951,000 farmers.
Let's know how much each one of them have lost.
Okay.
So that we'll compare the numbers. The investment so far, their losses so far. How much have you decided to disburse to these people? Because if you look at the numbers, it's like they're giving them 8,000 plus.
10,000 per acre.
Yes, if you look at the numbers, it's like $500. So 8,000 Ghana cedis. What situation can this address? It's just money for the boys.
My final issue on this also came about the news conference. You know, we've been haggling over this Cocoa Board announcement recently that they will no longer be going to the international market to borrow. Now, the finance minister says that recent claims by the Ghana Cocoa Board concerning the self-financing of the upcoming 2024-25 crop season. During the review today, Dr. Amin clarified that the government will indeed seek external support to support the cocoa sector, contrary to the Cocoa Board earlier statement. What do you make of this?
You listen to these two stories. Cocoa Board came lying to us that they want to break the gens, the 32-year gens that every year we go to the international market for cocoa syndicated facility to buy cocoa. So this time they want to raise the money domestically. So people were applauding them. That is good initiative. We can't rely on international market for all this. And then the minister came back, telling us that still negotiation is ongoing, meaning the international market is closing their doors to cocoa board because of the inefficiency and because of their mismanagement. And the local banks also are holding back. Because even if they give you the facility, they have to do reinsurance because cocoa board is not credible. It's not trustworthy because about 8.3 billion of their debt has been exchanged. The investor community is watching you closely. So if you're not creditworthy, what is the guarantee for me to give you additional money of which you cannot pay? Because African Development Bank gave you money to purchase some juice tax. You are not accounting for this. Head office alone is taking about 55% of cocoa revenue. The cocoa farmer is worse off. Cocoa rows has not been maintained. And even the cocoa beans that we are supposed to sell and service the debt, we are not getting the beans. We're almost getting 1 million metric tons of cocoa. Right now, less than 500,000. That I'm saying is eroding the gains that we made in cocoa sector. And the government is looking on. This president put his feet online that he will deal with this, that I'm saying, menace. You heard the story, you guys broadcast it, and we did everything with this story. Is that not the case?
It is.
He still remains the president of the Republic of Ghana. And now his own appointees are doing that, I'm saying. So there's no credibility and no investor will risk giving you this money. And you know what? Those that will give you the money, they will price you higher because of the risk factor.
All right.
So by the end of the day, you come back to square one. You sell the cocoa, you will not get anything. And nobody is ready now to give cocoa board the money. That's the truth.
Okay, we'll leave it here. Honorable Richard Champon is a deputy ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament. Two issues that they are considering. One is a request by the Finance Minister for approval for government to go into the contingency fund to take 500 million Ghana cedis to help deal with the dry spell we are experiencing in 8 regions of the country. Now, talking about that, the Food and Agricultural Minister, Brian Champon, also gave an update on the drought situation and the measures to address them.
Is state filling in a gap. Is a state filling. The private sector actors are bringing in grains all the time. And this year they will bring in more grains than even what we seek to bring as food grants. So I don't think that there will be any effect on trade being performed by Ghana. What we have is that we have to deal with a very short-term challenge, and we believe that by keeping the grains in country, we can use it to avert a major. We don't even have to import more. We're going to bring in. Yet the little that we have, we want others to come in and take out. Look, last year we had a bumper. Last year we had a bumper harvest. The price of maize, for example, dropped from 400 to 145, 150 Ghana cedis last year, 50 kg back. Okay, major intervention when we started the PFJ, all the things that we put in yielded the results that we wanted. What we saw was that a lot of aggregators were aggregating the Ghanaian grains that we had intervened to produce and aggregating for export. In fact, when the finance minister and myself went to Techima, Kikintampo, and we were getting a briefing, the officer there was telling us that when the Burkinabés come and they bring large trucks to come and buy the maize from our farmer, you know, I've sent a letter for the officer to be fired. You know, that you sit here. People come, you give all the farmers the inputs, the grant inputs, okay? And then others come to buy, you know that this cannot be done, and you sit here and you supervise it, and you are bold enough to even report to us, ministers of state and directors of the Ministry of Finance and Agric, that this is what, and I asked him, so what have you been doing about it? So anyway, it's said and gone. We know what to do. We are capable. We produce more maize than we consume. Okay, maize, we produce more maize than we consume. And we are putting up a silo, a 60,000 metric ton silo, to begin to store some of the harvest that will come in. So we are fine.
So that's the Food and Agricultural Minister, Dr. Brian Champon, actually. And this evening on PM Express Business Edition, George Yafe is going to have a sit-down conversation with him on this very matter. So you don't want to miss it. It's at between 9 and 10 p.m. here on JoyNews. The Food and Agricultural Minister with George Yafe on PM Express Business Edition. But let's stay a little longer on the economy, because as we are witnessing an upward rise or a rise in the public debt, there is some good news regarding the state-owned enterprises, because the sector has seen a reduction in loss by 80%, according to the 2023 State Ownership Report by the State Interest and Governance Authority, SIGA. Losses recorded reduced to 2.5 million cedis in 2023 compared to 14.4 million recorded in 2022. The director of SIGA, John Boadu, speaking at the news conference and also the launch of the report, indicated the importance of timelines of the report and the need to ensure companies are complying with filing their reports.
In that, the Auditors General reported, that's 2023 reports, reported a 46% reduction in irregularities and infractions in specified entity space in the 2023 audited accounts of public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions. SIGA will work with Auditor General, Internal Audit Agency, the boards and management of SEs to improve on compliance. And it must be noted that what is gratifying in this report by the Auditor General is that even the 46% reduction in the infractions, 90% of the infractions are recoverable. What it means is that government, through Auditor General, Accountant General, and all other entities working together, will be able to recover these infractions and irregularities that has occurred. Gone were the days when these infractions will have been realized in 5 years' time, because none of these entities will have reported, and Auditor General will not have the opportunity to peruse this account. And it is important that the people of this country, because the amount in question is close to about a reduction of close to 9 billion Ghana cedis. Infractions that was reduced from 2022 to 2023. At the end of financial year 2023, the aggregate net loss of SOEs was reduced to 2.573 million, marking a remarkable improvement of 82.13% from the previous year's net loss of 14.402 million. What it means is that in the year 2022, the net loss of the operations of SOEs was 14.40 million Ghana cedis. In 2023, it reduced to just 2.573 million. A massive reduction of our losses for about 82% in just 1 year, as a result of an oversight and throwing light and ensuring that these entities present their account. This is a wonderful feat that I think that it is important that the people of this country must know. And
well, we are inching towards the December 7th general elections. It's just 100 days to December 7th, and Ghanaians will choose a president and 275 members of parliament in an atmosphere of economic uncertainty and a general decline in livelihoods. Now, renowned legal practitioner Chachuchi Kata says the country will not forgive those who seek power for their selfish ambition. He was speaking at a public lecture on the theme, Can Ghana Rise from the Ashes, at the University of Ghana.
In Côte d'Ivoire. So we have not helped ourselves with the quality of our decision making in respect of our resources. And that is why so many discoveries and a lot of the places where you find things written are references to some discoveries that have been made. So some known potential. And so all this lies pretty dormant, even though the technology is available to harness those resources. What I said, again, in that lecture I gave 2 years ago, which I like to quote, is as follows. Ghana is still at a very early stage in uncovering the wealth of our oil resources. And there is every reason to be confident that the decline in production can be reversed for the good of the country. It will, however, require careful, well thought out, technically sound plans driven by what is in the national interest. Careful, well thought out, technically sound plans driven by what is in the national interest. I hope that we are serious enough as a country to retake that brazen misappropriation of national resources. We can go on to more examples because it is necessary to face up to why we are where we are. We have to use some of these lessons of our history and recognize that we rise and we rebuild on the basis of a sound foundation from our first president. So I don't understand how we can abandon commemorating 1st of July as Republic Day in favor of a day in August when the United Gold Coast Convention was founded.
Well, this is the pause. We'll take a short break. When we return, I will tell you why media freedom is such an important subject as we head towards the December 7 general elections. We've got a national dialogue coming up in the next 25 minutes at the Nat Hall. I'll tell you why it's so crucial that we discuss this matter. Stay right there when I return. Welcome back. This is the pulse here on Joy. Get interactive because we are live on all your favorite social media platforms, on YouTube, on X, on myjoyonline.com, of course, on Facebook, because we've got a very important discussion to have on media freedom, especially as we inch towards the 2024 general election. We've just got 100 days more to go. And in the next 15 minutes, we're going to assemble the very best, all interest parties for a discussion on this very important subject. Now, in the next 15 minutes, the Joy brands, Joy 99.7 FM and JoyNews.com, JoyNews, Joy Prime, will begin the much-awaited dialogue on press freedom with just 100 days to Ghana's 2024 general elections. Now, Ghana currently sits 50th out of 180 countries on the World Press Freedom Index. Now, here are the other factors and figures on press freedom in Ghana picked by our research team. And we'll bring you that very soon. But we just some few minutes to go. Let me take you to the Nat Hall, which is serving as venue for this very important discussion. My colleague Jackie Asmaya is live from the Nat Hall. Let me bring her in to gauge the mood as we prepare ourselves to hear what the experts will have to say, and of course, hear experiences from journalists themselves as we work towards covering the December 7 general election. So, Jackie, is the place shaping up for this very important discussion?
Well, yeah, good afternoon to you, Elton, and the viewers. So everyone is just trooping in right now, invited guests and everyone who is supposed to be in here today for the National Dialogue on Defend Media Freedom Now. Just as you said, the index is not looking too good for Ghana, so we have a lot of people trooping in here. We'll kickstart very soon, so registration is still ongoing outside. And just as you can see behind me, we still have the ushers just telling the guests where they should sit. That's basically what is going on in here right now.
Just to the event, I understand that the IGP and some government officials are there. We've also got representatives from the CDD. We've got journalists to share their own stories. Walk us through what exactly will happen when it's time at 4 for us to go live for this event.
Okay, Elton. So when we go live, just as you said, we obviously have the IGP here, but then we have about 21 panelists. And we have key 6 panelists, then some other panelists who are going to join. And we have Manasseh, who is part. Let me just run you through the list that we have here. We have Manasseh, who is part of the panelists. We also have Cecil Sunkwa Mills. We have Professor Abna Enimwaye Banin. We have Samson Ladi Ayinini. We also have Sulemana Brema and George Sapon, who are some of the main panelists for today, and some other panelists that we have. Just as you said, we have the IGP who is also expected to be here today.
So much, Jackie, and we'll come back to you when the event is underway, hopefully after 4, as we have this very important discussion. And of course, we'll be live here on Joy News. We'll be live on Joy Prime, on myjoyonline.com, of course, on Joy 99.7 FM. So we've been looking at some of the figures that probably is justifying the reason why we should have the discussion. And this has been put together by our research team. So as you see, Ghana is 50th on the World Press Freedom Index out of 180 countries. And the assumption is that we can do better. And so this is what we've done so far between 2014 till now. So now we are in terms of ranking, we are 50th. And that's actually improvement from 2023, which we were 62, 2022, 60th. In 2021, I mean, we did good. We settled on the 30th position, repeated it in 2020. In 2029, 27th. 2018, 23rd. 2017, 2016, 26th position. Same for 2016. In 2015, we occupied the 22nd position, and in 2014, the 27th position. So the last time we did so well, that was in 2015, when Ghana came 22nd, as far as the World Press Freedom Index is concerned. And currently, as we speak, we are 50th, and there are factors that is accounting for our showing. And so, and that clearly, in terms of figures, that's 67.6%. That's the score we got, and that put us in the 50th position. And so that is a slide for you in terms of satisfaction, in terms of where we have challenges. That is what you see from 2014 up until 2024. So where we have had issues with work of journalists in an atmosphere of acceptability, we did so well. Where journalists encountered issues in the discharge of their duties, the perception grew, and that's the reason why our ranking went up. So that is what you see here, where it was good, the satisfactory aspect, and where we had challenges is where you see in the red line, or yeah, if you like. So what are the issues that could be described as an attack on the media? That is, not helping the media to operate in an atmosphere that could be described as free. So there's physical attack, 9 recorded. There's been arrest and detention. Journalists have been arrested and detained in the discharge of their duties, also 9. Seizure, destruction of property, 6. People have been threatened because they published or they've done certain stories that did not sit down well with the party on the opposite side. And that's 3. In terms of censor, I mean, people trying to edit work of journalists before that work is published. 1. Shutdown, where media houses have been shut down because of particular position they've taken against the establishment, just one, and where journalists has been sentenced for doing his or her work, that's also one in Ghana between 2021 and 2022. So, I mean, types of perpetrators, who are the people who have been so, you know, on journalists in terms of not allowing them the freedom to do their work, and in so doing, they have, you know, infringed on the right of the journalists to do their work or operate in an atmosphere of freedom. Security agencies, and here we are talking about the police, the military, other groups that form the security agencies. We also have party affiliates, that's political party affiliates. We have organized groups. We have the court, individuals, public officials, or state officials. So in terms of those who are directly, you know, not allowing journalists to do their work, the security agencies came on top in a very comfortable lead. So there's been promises by political actors. The former president, John Mahama, who is leading the NDC for the December 7th election, in the NDC 2024 manifesto, he says, and I quote, "We will repeal all anti-press freedom laws and reversing the current climate of fear, intimidation, harassment, and safety, as well as improve the frontiers of media freedoms and development." This is a solemn pledge by the NDC flag bearer in the 2024 manifesto. He goes on to say that we will reopen investigations into the murder of Ahmed Hussein Swale and ensure prompt action on all cases involving violation of the rights and freedom of media professionals. And he also promises to pass the broadcasting bill into law to define the parameters of broadcasting and enhance the role of community radio in national development. And same promise also by the MPP. And also collaborate with industry stakeholders to review and strengthen existing legal, regulatory, and policy framework essential for the promotion and protection of media freedoms. The MPP also have a promise in the 2024 to the media, and Dr. Mamadou Bawumia, who is a flag bearer, promises to pass and fully implement the broadcasting bill. So the two of them agree that the broadcasting bill is essential, and that passage will be done. If not done before the final session of Parliament, hoping that before Parliament rises on the midnight of January 6th, that should be passed, or better safeguard media freedom and pluralism. And also continue to implement a coordinated mechanism for safety of journalists. That is a promise coming from the MPP in the 2024 manifesto. And also promises to enhance access to information by facilitating right to information, which is already a law after years of deliberation in Parliament. Requests by media practitioners and citizens who cannot afford to access information. That is a promise from the MPP in their 2024 manifesto. There's also the promise to harmonize public relations at all ministries, departments, and agencies to promote effective communication. So those are the promises by the two major political parties, the MPP and the NDC. All of them agree that the media must be allowed to do its work in an atmosphere of sanity and of freedom. Now, with just minutes to go, we would like to hear from you, our audience, the consumers of our work. Do you think the media is free or protected enough to bring you the best? You can have your say by sending us a WhatsApp via this number, 0244-638-629. That's 0244-638-629. Or you can also, give us a call as we go through it. Right now, though, let's try some answers by looking back at previous happenings captured in the following report.
Journalism in Ghana has a proud history. From the early days of independence to the modern era, journalists have played a crucial role in exposing corruption, championing human rights, and informing the public. But in recent years, this role has become increasingly dangerous. A troubling wave of violence and intimidation has targeted those who dare to hold power to account.
Two journalists and a driver of Lava Firm, a subsidiary of the Multimedia Group Limited, have been attacked by purported watchmen of the Sewa Regional Hospital in the region.
Management of City FM, City TV has petitioned the National Media Commission over the alleged brutalization of one of its journalists, Caleb Kuda, in the custody of national security.
A journalist with Sky Media Group at Takoradi in the Western region was on Tuesday severely beaten after he sought to find out why a policeman who was sitting on a motorbike had no crash helmet.
Since 2012, the number of journalists who have faced abuse, threats and even death has risen sharply. In March 2018, Lateef Idrisu, a journalist with JoyNews, was brutally assaulted by police officers outside the headquarters of the Ghana Police Service in Accra while covering a protest. He sustained severe injuries, including a fractured skull. Until date, the perpetrators have not been found.
They pushed me in there and they joined and beat me up with sticks, with their legs, with the back of the guns hitting my. Yesterday I asked him to take a shot of that. They hit me with the back of the gun about 3 times at the back of my head here. They hit me with sticks in my rib.
On January 16, 2019, investigative journalist Ahmed Hussein Swali was shot and killed by unidentified assailants in Accra. He was part of the Tiger IPI team led by Anas Arimiyao Anas, which had exposed corruption in Ghana football. The assassination sent shockwaves through the media community, leading to fears about the safety of investigative journalists in Ghana. In 2019, Edward Adeti, a Star FM journalist, was threatened after exposing a corruption scandal involving a judge. Following the publication of his investigation, he received threats and his safety was compromised. In May 2021, Caleb Kuda, a journalist with City FM and City TV, was arrested and allegedly assaulted by national security operatives for filming abandoned state vehicles. His colleague Zoe Abubedi was also detained for receiving the footage. In April 2021, David Tamaklu, the editor of WhatsApp News, was arrested on charges of publishing false news. This was seen as an intimidation tactic to silence critical journalism. In July 2021, Erastus Asaredonko, a journalist with Love FM, was threatened with harm by a member of parliament after his testimony before the committee investigating the Ejura disturbances, where 2 people were killed during a protest. The threat against Erastus drew attention to the risk journalists face when reporting on politically sensitive issues. During the 2020 general elections, there were multiple reports of journalists being harassed, intimidated and assaulted while covering the elections. Some were attacked by party supporters, while others were detained by security forces. Apart from these, scores of journalists in Ghana have been attacked and continue to face attacks. Lateef Idris, one of the journalists who was attacked in 2018, has not fully recovered from the ordeal. The attacks on journalists are often linked to their coverage of sensitive issues: corruption, illegal mining, political misconduct, among others. The lack of accountability is a major issue. Many of these attacks go unpunished, creating a culture of impunity that emboldens those who wish to silence the press. The future of journalism in Ghana depends on our ability to protect those who seek the truth. As new generations of reporters step onto the field, they must do so with the confidence that their safety will be guarded and their voices will not be silenced. For those who risk their lives in the pursuit of truth, we owe them nothing less than our full support and protection. The fight for press freedom continues today, tomorrow, and always.
All right, so let's hear from you what you make of this subject, especially as we head towards the December elections. And of course, you can give us a call now before I take you live to the Nat Hall, where we are ready. I think we're ready. I cannot take you live to the Nat Hall, where the National Dialogue is just about starting.